They try to sell directly. They're selling their coaching services. That's very difficult. That's probably the biggest mistake. They haven't built a relationship. They haven't built that trust. They certainly haven't built any kind of credibility. That's why we use the webinar model where we teach them to do workshops to build that credibility, that trust. Now I know who you are. And then the complimentary session where there's no offer, there's no money exchanging. We're just giving value. We do not charge by the session. We charge by the month, and the fee is based on how often you meet with them, because people think, what's in it for me?
Before we get started, lend me 20 seconds of your time. I just want to send a heartfelt thank you to all of you who have already subscribed to our channel and regularly watch and comment on our content. If you are new here and you find you get value from our conversations, please do me a favor and click that subscribe button just below. It's a small gesture, but it really means the world to us, as it helps us grow the community of coaches and coaching enthusiasts around the world. Thank you. Today, we have Rich Bernstein, CEO of Mars Venus Coaching, with us. For nearly 2 decades, Rich has partnered with Dr. John Gray, the author of the iconic Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, to build one of the world's leading coach certification schools grounded in gender-intelligent principles. Before joining forces with John Gray, Rich was a successful business owner in his own right, coaching executives and entrepreneurs, and he was playing a key role in building another major coach certification program in the US. Rich brings a wealth of experience in transformation, in leadership, and practical business, product, and pricing strategy to the world of coaching. Thank you, Rich, for being here with us today.
Welcome.
Rich, today we talk about offers. And why don't we start with the question, what is an offer?
An offer is how you articulate your product or service. Every business has to have an offer. What are you offering? Because people think, what's in it for me? Why would I want to do this? So that's what, it's not just presenting your product or your service, but it's how you actually articulate that makes the difference, that person wants to either know more or buy that service from you. That's an offer.
How do you make a good offer? How do you make an offer or present an offer or create an offer that someone would like to purchase?
Well, that's a really good question, because I think one of the problems with offers is that coaches try to get people to buy their services directly. And that's very difficult. They don't know enough. They don't know you. They don't know, you don't have credibility. They don't know what coaching really is. So I think it's important that you have a process that you put together, that you're really coaching them just to take a baby step with you. And you build that trust through a relationship that you build through the system itself. And most coaches don't do that. Not Mars Venus coaches, but coaches around the world. They just try to sell their service. What I want to do is build a relationship where I'm coaching them just to take a little baby step. And then how does that feel to you? And then they like that. You're building trust, you're building credibility, and you're giving value. And then they want to take the next step, which has a small offer, not your entire coaching package, but a small offer. And then again, they trust you. You're building a little more credibility. You're giving a little more value. And now on the third step, they're actually ready to perhaps buy your services. That's an irresistible offer, because the first one is complimentary. The second one is $100. The third one is the full packages that you offer them.
Building up the trust on the way is really important to get to the high ticket.
Correct. You have to do that. They're not ready to buy on a hello. Or you have a problem, I have a solution. That's just not enough for them to buy a full-blown package from you.
I guess it's not e-commerce where you buy a product and then if you don't like it, you send it back. With a coaching session, you kind of, once it's done, it's done. So you, by doing the free offer first, then the sort of the first payment, you introduce them more gradually to a proper program.
And now they're ready to buy. You have to get them ready to buy. It's not a cold purchase that I want coaching services from you.
Yeah, that makes sense. So in your experience, what are the most common mistakes that coaches make when they design their offers?
Well, I just said either they try to sell directly, they're selling their coaching services. That's very difficult. That's probably the biggest mistake. They haven't built a relationship. They haven't built that trust. They certainly haven't built any kind of credibility. That's why we use the webinar model where we teach them to do workshops to build that credibility, that trust. Now I know who you are. And then the complimentary session where there's no offer, there's no money exchanging. We're just giving value. And once they have that value, now if they're willing to spend a little bit of money, we give them even more value. And then we're ready to then show them our program options. Another really big mistake they make on their offers, however, is many times they describe it as, do you want coaching or not?
Mhm.
That is not what we do at Mars Venus. We don't want to say, well, now that even if I built all this credibility, do you want coaching or not? Those are the two options, yes or no. What we do at Mars Venus, because there's a golden rule in sales that the rule of three. People like options. They like three. And we give an option of we can work together every other week, twice a month. We can work together every week, 4 times a month, or we can work together twice a week, 8 times a month, which is our premier package. And believe it or not, we do not charge by the session. We charge by the month, and the fee is based on how often you meet with them.
Mhm.
That's a really important concept that, and not coaching is not one of those three options that you're offering them. It's a big mistake that coaches make.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Do you want coaching or not?
Okay, tell me more about this program options. Why
Yes.
three? Why not two? Why not four?
Because there's a golden
Okay.
rule of three. As I said, we like threes. We like
Mhm.
things coming in threes.
Mhm.
Do I want the what is it in the Constitution about, health, happiness, and the pursuit of liberty? We like threes. We like saying things in threes. So when I say to them, look, it's only $400 a month if I work with you twice a month. That means each session, even though I don't charge by the session, they do the math in their head, it's $200 a session. But if I charge you $600 for 4 sessions, it drops down from 200 to 150. And if I'm going to charge you 750 or $800 for 8 sessions, it drops down from 150 down to 100. So they're seeing that I'm paying by the month. So they pay for the whole month, which is a real key to client retention is that you're not coaching them 8 sessions or 12 sessions and then they quit. Because at the end of 8 sessions, they expect to be cured. The coaching is over. That's the image you gave them. But if you give them the image that we can coach month to month forever, and you're just going to pay for that, they do the math. And even though you're going to make more money at $800 a month, it's cheaper for them in the long run because it's only $100 a session. That's one of the keys to client retention. Do not charge packages, and I know a lot of coaches do this around the world until they come to Mars Venus. And then they wind up keeping clients long term because they're charging by the month, just month to month. You can stay as long as you want, as long as you're getting value, and you can quit anytime. We don't say 8 sessions and they think they're cured. When
Yeah.
you sell a package of 8 sessions, they think coaching is only 8 sessions and then it's over. That's
Mhm.
the impression you gave them because the way you positioned your offer.
Have you ever had some ethical backlash? Because coaching is sort of it's building trust. It's an expression of trust between the coach and the person being
Right?
coached.
Right?
And when you kind of bind them into a contract, are there any ethical issues with that?
No, and I don't bind them into a contract. I tell them I don't even do an agreement. I just tell them it's month to month. You pay for a month. See, the other thing you have to understand, if you're going to sell them by the session, and this week they say, I don't really want to pay for a session this week. Rich, let's just skip the session. That's going to happen a lot when you sell it that way, by the session. But when you sell it by the month, and we're going to meet 4 times every single week, they've already paid for it. They're going to be there. They're going to show up and they're going to want their money's worth. But no, we don't bind them in any, you have to stay for a year, you have to stay for 6 months or even 3 months. It's month to month. There's no ethical consideration when it's just a month to month. Stay as long as you want. Every
Okay.
month, I'm going to bill you on that same day, and then we go another 4 weeks. And the
Yeah.
next month, I'm going to bill you on the same day, and we go another 4 weeks. There's no ethical challenge with that at all.
And I guess the paying in advance does create a little bit of commitment. And you do want to
Yes,
create results for
that's
your
exactly
client,
right.
right?
That's the right word. Good word is commitment. That they're making a commitment to that month, but I'm not asking them to commit their life or commit,
Yeah.
long term. I'm asking them to commit this month so that
Mhm.
I can get them progress as we start moving forward. And then do you
Mhm.
want to do it another month? Sure. And then do you want to do it another month? Sure. Because they're actually getting the progress.
Yeah. Now let's talk about a little bit about pricing. So, in order to create this irresistible offer, today we talk about irresistible offer. Um, we also need to consider, how do we price ourselves? Do you recommend the coaches kind of look up the other coaches in the area, see how much they charge, or do you like
No, no,
take it out of
because
thin
what's
air?
going to
How do you?
happen? No, I don't. Because what's going to happen is they are actually they're gonna get, as they get better and better at coaching and giving more and more value, their prices are going to go up. Mine did from what I originally started. As I started getting better, as I started getting results, as I started getting notes from clients going, that was amazing. You've changed my life. Of course, my confidence grew and therefore my pricing grew. We do make recommendations based on where you are in the world because a
Mhm.
coach in, Guatemala is going to charge different than in California, which is different in Texas, so we try to make it comparable to the region of something that somebody would pay. To
Mhm.
me, if somebody pays $400 or $500 a month, all you're really giving up at that point is one dinner. Go out to dinner nowadays, it's $100. So you're going to spend $100 on dinner or $100 on changing your life. Because usually it's not about pricing, Helmet. It's
Mhm.
not about pricing. People spend money where they want to spend money. It's about priority. What's important in their life. And that's why I don't sell when I make my offer coaching. I'm not selling coaching. I'm selling their vision. The coaching is just a vehicle to get there. What is that worth in their life? What's that vision worth? Because that's what they're paying for, is progress toward that vision. They're not
Mhm.
paying for coaching. And that's a big mistake that coaches make
Yeah.
in their pricing, in their offer, is they're offering coaching. I'm not offering coaching. I'm offering vision.
Yeah. Nevertheless, I mean, you do need to put a price on it, though.
Yep.
Yeah. So, for our listeners or viewers, do you have any comparisons? US, Europe, GCC, Asia, Australia. What do people, life coaches, let's say, what do life coaches charge per hour? Again, we don't charge per
Yep.
hour, right?
We make a recommendation
Mhm.
that if they're going to do it twice a month, that it's between 350 and $400. Because like I
Mhm.
said, I want them in their head, they're going, okay, that's 175 or $200 a session. If they're
Mhm.
doing it weekly, it's got to be 400 to 500 because
Mhm.
it's at least $100 per week. It doesn't matter where you are, whether you're in Europe, the only difference is in euros. So that's a little less money. In the United States and Canada, it's in USD. So that's a little more money. But to me, a person in California, or New York, or Florida that I want to coach, and I say it's only 400 or $500 a month, they're going to go, okay, am I willing to invest $400 or $500 a month into myself, into my relationship? Is that worth it to me? I have a lot of people say, no, it's not worth it to me. I don't really want to do it. All right. So what is your relationship worth to you? They go, oh, it's priceless, but you're not willing to invest 500 bucks in it. And at least try it for a month. See how you do after 4 sessions. And if your relationship improves, keep going. If your relationship doesn't, because I'm so confident that coaching works because we're focused on what they really want, not what they don't want. And anytime you focus on what you want, you begin to attract that in your life.
Mhm. Yeah.
So pricing is not that different, even in the Middle East, even in Australia. Now, some of the places like Cairo that has issues around the Egyptian pound, or places like in Nigeria and Africa, you might have a little bit of a tougher time. You bring the price down a little bit, but the Middle East affluent, Europe affluent, U.S. affluent is pretty much the same.
Yeah. I just had an idea or a thought, because irresistible offer, right? And you add access, and you would you recommend to coaches for them to offer accessibility? So you have your coaching session, and then the client can contact them by email or by WhatsApp outside
Mhm.
of those coaching sessions. Would that be a good bonus, or would you steer coaches away?
I actually steer people away from doing that, but once in a while I get one. They got in a big fight or something happened, and I say, I'm here for you. But the biggest mistake you can make in doing that is if somebody texts you or somebody emails you with a problem, don't give them solutions, even on a text or an email. You have to teach them to think. That's what coaching is. You're always teaching them what are your options? What are the pros and the cons of each one of those options? What do you see now when you look at all of those options? I'm teaching them how to think, not, oh, you should just leave the guy or, oh, you should stay with the guy. Who am I to tell them what to do? So that's very important. Now, there are some coaches that say you can text me anytime. I try to keep it to a limit where I don't say anything until it might get out of hand, where I
Mhm.
then might say, you're texting a little bit much. Maybe wait a couple days and send me, two issues on one email or one text kind of
Mhm.
thing. But I don't encourage it, but I don't discourage it either.
Okay, so it's a do as you
Right.
feel fit, as you
Right. But you're going to find that people start taking advantage. When you say, oh, you can text me anytime, and then they text you every day and you don't say anything, they're going to take advantage of that because people want you to give them solutions.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Interesting. Okay. And do you have any tips for coaches who feel uncomfortable selling themselves?
I do. And I have an issue with that question because that is the challenge. They are not selling themselves. That's the biggest tip I can give you is you're not selling you. You're not selling coaching. As I said earlier, you're selling a vision. And that's the key to this. As long as you keep thinking you're selling yourself, you're in trouble. I'm not selling me. I'm selling the Mars Venus coaching process that I know is going to work for you. That if I first bring you clarity using some of our tools, and then we craft a plan using some of our tools, and then I use the coaching process that we teach of how to, implement that plan and measure results every week, you're not selling yourself. You got
Mhm.
to get that out of your head. That's the biggest tip, the biggest mistake is get that out of your head that you're selling yourself. If I was selling myself, I'd be in trouble. I'd be broke. I'm not selling me. I'm selling a system that'll change your life.
Mhm. So you're offering transformation. You're not selling yourself, but you're offering transformation with a
Correct.
system that has been proven and has.
Because I'm so confident. That's right. It's been proven around the world with more than 700 coaches that have said this system actually works. I don't need to think about how am I going to help this client this week? What am I going to do this week? How am I going to, give him solutions? You're not going to do any of that. You're going to do positioning. You're going to do an alignment. You're going to do a 90-day plan. You're going to start measuring the growth of each plan and talking about strategies every week to move them 1/12 of the way there because there's 12 weeks in a 90-day plan. You follow that system, they get progress. They get progress, they get results.
Cool. Well,
Get
you
that
asked,
selling to yourself out of the picture.
yeah, and you already answered my final question that I had for you, which was, what can a coach do this week to start improving their offer? And it's kind of like, well, okay, that was a process of going through the offer. What about the offer itself? Is there a particular thing someone
Number
can
one,
improve
yes,
on?
number one, remember the rule of three. It's very important
So rule
because
of three.
people look at three options and most of the time they pick the middle option. They don't want the cheapie and they don't want the most expensive, so they'll pick the middle. That's human nature. So the
Mhm.
first thing you should be doing this week, whether you're a Mars Venus coach or not, is literally put three packages together and do
Mhm.
it by frequency within a month. And you're going to charge them just for that 1 month. That's the key.
Great. I think that's a super valuable tip for the end of our session. The time goes so quickly.
I know.
It is the end of our session already. So thank you, Rich, for being here today and sharing your knowledge. Thank you at home for watching. I hope you got real value from this conversation. If you did, make sure you subscribe to our channel. If you'd like to know more about Mastermind Coaching, you can always pop onto our website. There's a great quiz there for you to fill in. You can get all the links and things in the show notes below. Make sure you tune in again next week as we continue our conversation around coaching and the business of coaching. Thank you very much.
Thank you.